to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to have my first guest, Christina.
Hi guys.
This is my first time doing this, so yeah, we're gonna have a little fun. So I'm gonna tell you where Christina and I met. So last semester we had a class together.
Do you remember? Okay.
Yes, I do remember. You pulled up on me. We had an old age class, a social work class together, and for some reason, she reached out to me, and I didn't know the reason why.
Well, I guess this is why I come in.
Oh, that's where the
The reason why I reached out to her is because, I don't know, I noticed her accent, and I had just come from Ghana studying abroad, so I was very interested in different accents because I've been hearing different accents. So I was like, let me ask her if she's part of the international student program. And then I just approached her. I had nothing to lose at that point in the semester, so.
True. Okay, I thought it was something else. So since then we've been talking, and we ended up talking about mental health, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so today's session is going to be about basically mental health. First, we're going to start kind of lightly as to our first conversation together. I'm going to let her talk about that a little bit, and then I have some questions for her, and as we go along, we'll develop some more stuff. Yeah. So, our first encounter.
Okay, so I remember during fall 2019, I was going through a very rough semester. I just came back from studying abroad in Ghana, and I had like this wonderful time in my life. And then I came back into this environment that I knew I wasn't really liking too much. So my plan was to not come back at all that semester, but I decided not to come back like a week before school started. So I was disorganized and I was everywhere. Mm-hmm. I already had housing, I already had my classes. So it was easy for me to come back to school than to just stay home when I already planned everything out. So I came knowing that I didn't want to be here. And at first it was okay, like I was getting involved and I was fine.
So you're involved in everything on campus.
And then I quit all my organizations because I noticed that it started affecting my mental health and my self-worth. I started tying my positions in certain organizations to how valuable I was as a person, so to speak. So I decided to quit all my orgs. I fell into really bad depression. I had really bad anxiety. So yeah, one day in class, I think after that day, I talked to you initially because I just asked you if you were in the international student program. Okay. And then once class was over, you were just like, bye, bye. And then I stayed. I always stayed after class to do homework because I knew if I went home, nothing was getting done at all. Because I hated doing anything. I couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And then I remember you just stayed after too because you were waiting for the Bible study group, I think, that day. So I don't know what you were doing, but
when did we have class? On Thursdays?
Yeah, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so she just stayed after, and mind you, around the time, I really did not want to talk or be around anyone. So when she stayed after, in my head,
please
no,
leave.
I was like, oh my god,
I have to socialize with people
now I have to talk, and then I don't know kind of where the conversation went, but I guess I just kind of bursted out saying how I didn't really want to be here and I don't want to be doing this class and all this stuff. And I know my vibe was kind of low during that time and not as welcoming or friendly how I can be. Mm-hmm. So I think you really fed off on that vibe, and she was just giving me really good advice and sharing her own personal experience and tying it into where I was. And it really helped me feel hopeful because I was going through this thing with the school and hating everyone here. But it's okay, look, I just met a nice person and maybe there's hope, So yeah.
So I'm going to expound on that just a little because when you're going through depression, because I went through it too, I could have better related with her. When someone is going through a depression, don't take what they're going through personal, because a lot of times it's just that they don't want to be around people, and it's hard to be around people when you're depressed. Having to smile, no, she's bubbly.
Yeah, so
She's
for me, like during my time, I knew for a fact that like I couldn't be around certain people because those certain people were expecting me to be like, and they weren't used to like, oh, Christina's not talking. So I just kind of isolate myself. So when I had to be around people, it was a lot. Like it felt like even if it was like a 2 hour event, it felt like I was there for the whole day. Like it was terrible.
I'm going to expand, like talk about that a little. There are times, like even after she opened up to me, Christina would be like, I just don't care, like you know.
Oh yeah.
I don't wanna.
That was my favorite phrase last semester. I don't care.
I don't care, or like if I stayed to be around her, I get the vibe that she didn't really want somebody to be around, so I just leave. Like if I ask her a question, she just give me a one answer question, but I didn't take that to mind. And you know, okay, she needs her time off, and after she sent me a text. I'm sorry for you know. Then I understand what you're going through, but so fast forward to like the beginning of the semester, you kind of took the ending of the semester. You took time off, right?
Yes.
So before we go to that counseling, how was that like taking the decision to seek counseling? How was the experience?
Okay. So really, I started counseling my freshman year, so last year. But the reason why I went to counseling was for friendship. Like the entire basis of my counseling freshman year focused on like friendships and relationships with people and why I wasn't making the connections I wanted to make or I thought I would make coming to this school.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I kind of just went to counseling as like, oh, let me go to this person and get advice. You know, I wasn't taking it seriously. Like he would tell me techniques to do and I would literally not do them or just forget them.
Mm-hmm.
So this time around, like I really needed it and I started taking it seriously. And if he told me, you know, take deep breaths and gave me different exercises to do, I would do them because I really needed it. So I went in being open. I think counseling and therapy works if you work.
True.
So once I started working, like I started seeing results and I started seeing changes. But you have to put in the work. Like you have to be open-minded. Yes, it's scary going to a stranger and telling them all your business. Yes, it's scary putting yourself out there. Like there were times I'm like, you know, I have to be open and honest with him or her, and hopefully that's how, you know, my journey to healing will begin. Like once I start being honest with them, because a lot of things you say out loud, like counseling will help you realize a lot of things. Like they dive into the things you wouldn't even think they would dive into, like
Things that you don't even know that you're struggling with.
Like the things you think you're struggling with,
It may be your normal.
Yeah.
Like
So yeah, I mean once you work, it will work.
yes, counseling can be scary, but it's a good thing. Sometimes it's good opening up to someone that doesn't have any ties with you. Did you get that? Yeah, like you know, certain things you could tell your friends, you could tell your family, but there's some dark stuff, or maybe things that may not even be dark, but just like you're not too sure of that you can open up to a counselor or a therapist about, you know. So
and it's also coming from a place of like no bias, or they don't know anything about you. They only know what you tell them, which is why you have to be open
and honest, you know. So with going to counseling, what like do you mind talking about your diagnosis or like even opening up to your family about it? You know, we come from a Haitian background.
I didn't see that coming.
We come from a Haitian background, and mental health, Haitian background or even the Caribbean in general, mental health is not something that is talked about or even acknowledged. I'm curious as to how that experience was with you. I know with me, when I told my mom, I mean, I think she knew that I was going through a depression, but when I took off from school, she was like, no, you have to go back to school because I'm like, mommy, I need time off. And she didn't really understand it. She still kind of pushed for me to go for it, but my mind wasn't in the right mind to start university. It's like time wasted, basically. If your mind is not in it, then what's the sense, you know? So how was it?
Okay. So I'm gonna give a little background of how it led up to me even telling my parents, because mind you, I'm not close with my parents to the point where like I would tell them. Usually I just suffered in silence. So everyone thought I was having a great time at this school. Like, they only saw the good pictures on Instagram, like the events that I would go to, all that. Like, all my family members thought I was having the time of my life up here because I'm 6 hours away from home. Mind you, like, I've hated it after my first semester here. Like, I wanted to leave and I would have been okay. Like, that's how I haven't really been feeling it too much. So during the semester, I quit on my ORI, so I wasn't really being around people. I wasn't going out to events. I was staying in my room. I stopped driving because I had such bad anxiety, like I couldn't drive too much. And I remember, like I used to go up on hills. Now I can drive, like I have no problem on the road. Like I can drive anywhere with no problem. But back then, like even driving would give me like, I could not. And so I decided in my mind, I was like, you know what, like I'm not coming back. I'm gonna take a semester off. I packed up like half my room. I called my parents just crying one night. So mind you, they think I'm up here living my best life, and then one night I just called them out of nowhere, telling them to come pick me up because I couldn't drive. Like I literally could not drive, let alone get on a highway. So I told them to come get me. And at first, their first reaction was just like, what? Like how could you be going through something and like not even tell us? But they were mostly honestly focused on the fact that I said I wanted to take a semester off as well. Like, I don't want to say they didn't care that I was depressed, but it's like they didn't even hear that part. All they heard was I wanted to take a semester off, and then they went crazy. They're like, what are you going to do?
What did you tell Kyla? You're just going to come home and stay home and do nothing. And mind you, I'm going to add this. Haitian parents, they really care about what other people think. So I don't know if that played a toll on you. It's like you came from family, you come home for a semester. What am I gonna tell these people? Like about Christina's here. What is she? You know? So it's like that's their main concern. That can be very like detrimental to your kids because you're not hearing them out. You know, you're just hearing what you want to hear. When you told them that you were coming, you came home and they basically had to deal with you.
Yes. So as far as like the coming home and what other people were saying, I'm a first generation college kid, and I'm the only person in my family, like even if you go back to cousins, older cousins, who has actually gone away to college. So they're like, comment senti, c'est nous-mêmes qui allons au collège. Yes. So it was just like, you guys are putting all this pressure on me. I'm already pressured being here alone. And now it's like, dang, like, did I let my family down? Mind you, I'm supposed to be focusing on myself. It's not even about them, but they were making it about the family and what, you know, like I had to finish. And that's pretty much the only reason keeping me here for this long, to be honest, is just keeping that tradition or starting that tradition. So at first they were really upset, like they just cared about the school part, and then it was whatever. Like the next day I was like, come pick me up. Like every day I would call, like, are you guys gonna come pick me up? Because they thought I was joking. It's like they were kind of waiting for me to like say psych, but when they saw I was serious, then they kind of started to get concerned because, you know, I was like staying up all night. I couldn't sleep. I lost like 11 pounds last semester, and it's not hard for me to lose weight, but like I've been trying to lose weight. So the fact that like I couldn't even get out of bed to make it to the fridge to get something to eat, like I just stayed in bed all the time. And then finally my dad decided to come get me. He went on a Greyhound to come meet me here. But the thing is, I don't know what happened the day I was supposed to leave. Like till this day, I can't even tell anyone what made me stay. But I just...
When he came?
Yes, like the day he came to pick me up. I remember it was like a Friday, and I went to the registrar's office to tell them like I was not coming back and everything, and I already got it done. I went to tell my study abroad advisor bye, and then something just clicked. Like for the first time in months, I felt happy. Like that was the first day in months. I'm like, why today when I'm about to leave? Like,
you never told me that story.
Really? No. I went to get like my last breakfast from Hilliard.
Her last breakfast.
I went to tell everyone bye, and then I was like, you know what, Christina? I feel like you have to finish your story. So yeah, that was that.
So when did you return? I'm confused. But okay, we're not gonna go into that.
Oh, okay. I
but
know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so I left for winter break. Winter
Oh,
break was
that's
like
what
a month,
happened.
but I took an extended winter break, and I I came back like 2 weeks after because I was taking classes online. Like I was really trying to get away, and it helped. Like I definitely had a great time at home. Mind you, I used to hate going back home, but like I really needed to get out of this environment so bad that it was the best time ever.
Okay, so just being home helped you. Like, okay, so like the support system back home compared to here was what helped you? What did you do different? What did you do for your self growth? Like betterment or healing?
Okay, yeah. For my healing, I don't really think when I was home I healed necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I think this environment, it was just so great to be out of this environment that's what helped me. I think I started freshman year, like I hated being home. Like I don't really have a great family situation back home. We're not that close.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like I started to appreciate everybody more when I went back home. I was like, okay, mom, like, you know, like I really just had a genuine love for everybody and everything because I realized, and I never would have thought, like, I didn't get homesick at all freshman year. Like, I never get homesick, but I just started having a genuine appreciation for, like, my hometown, everybody looking up to me. Yeah.
So I could kind of relate to. Before I went back home, I just felt, I don't know if that was the same experience for you. I felt like Tallahassee was suffocating me. Like I'm like, I need to get out of this. I need to get out of this toxic place. And during that, like the thought process, I was already getting better. I had already sought therapy. I was going to church. So I was like, yes, Jesus, you know, that tight relationship, that building relationship with God. And you know, I felt a bit better, but I still felt like unhappy and I needed to go back home. And I went back home for an internship and I was around my friends, my family. I laughed, I ate, and it was so like, and you don't, like being depressed or being depressed or going through anxiety, just being in that dark place, you get a chance to, like, coming out of it, you're grateful for the little things, you know, the laugh, the food, your family, your home, like the simple thing. Therapy, my next point is medication. So she wrote an article, a blog post. I'm gonna link all her information after, where she calls it the pill popping princess. I read it and I was like, whoa.
I love the title.
I love it too. I was like, ooh, girl. So she talks about, was it a struggle deciding to take medication, or like what were your thoughts when what your therapist told you, okay, maybe you should, and then.
Okay, so I knew I had a lot of anxiety coming into college, but I never got a professional opinion. But I knew something was wrong because like it just wasn't normal. The way I would like physically, like my chest would tighten. It was terrible. Like I knew something was wrong with me. I don't want to say, you know, something was wrong with me, but I knew like I had anxiety for sure. I just didn't know if it was social anxiety, generalized. But after doing research online, which, you know, don't be a Google professor, but I self-diagnosed myself, with generalized anxiety disorder, and I turned out to be right because I went to see a psychiatrist at the school, and he told me that I had major depression and a generalized anxiety disorder. Now, the anxiety is what I came to him for, but when he said major depression, I was like, that really took me back. It's not like I didn't know, like I wasn't happy. Like you're the one who told me that, like you're not happy. Like I was like, yeah, you're right, I'm not. So why was it such a shock to me? But when he said that, like it hit me. It was like someone like.
Did I tell you at first, or he told you?
He told me, and then you're like, well, yeah, it's not a surprise.
Yeah, she was like, I can't, like she was dying. And when she told me that, she was like, my therapist told me that I have depression. I was like, yeah, and she was shocked. I was like.
Yeah, it was it's like it all came together. I was like, oh, that's why I feel this way. And I was like, but he didn't have to say major depression. Like, that's what kind of got me. He was like, major depression. Oh, dang. Not even just depression. Major depression. So I was like, oh, okay.
Coming out of not wanting to come out of bed, that's big.
Yeah, only for that one class that we had was when I ever left. Really, and I'm thankful that our professor would cancel class the days he did. The day he canceled were the days where I was not gonna go. And I was like, this is the professor for me this semester. But with medication, it was brought up as a
alternative.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like I always told myself I would never take medication, but I was so desperate to feel better. Like, I would have done anything at that point. But I was like, I have nothing to lose at this point. Like, if there's something out there for me that can help me feel better, I might as well try it and take it. I don't plan on being on medication forever. I'm still on it now. And it has definitely helped me. Like, that's one thing I will say, like, yes, it worked for me. But hey, medication without therapy though is not a great idea.
True.
From what I've heard, so.
She left spring semester to go back home, and then when she came back, you were already on your medication, correct? So we chilled that night. We had a movie night, and you can notice the difference between before and then, because she was more like hype. I told you she's a bubbly, happy person, but she came. There was a video she saw online with the lady. What were they watching?
I know. I don't remember what we were watching, but it was so funny.
Oh my god, it was so hilarious. And I truly appreciate that moment that we had in the living room where we were just laughing over nothing. And
a chicken clap.
Like, we don't.
It was funny.
Yeah, it for me it was lovely to see the transition from when I first met her to now, So if you're a person that is struggling right now and you don't know if you want to seek therapy, what can you lose if you go and you talk to somebody? That has nothing to do with you, no ties, no nothing. And if they do prescribe you medication, you do have the choice whether or not you can do it. And as she said, it was an alternative. So what were you doing before the medication?
I was just doing therapy. So like, they're not gonna force you to take medication. It's up to you. They'll ask you about the doses, what you feel comfortable with. You can stop taking it if it's not working for you. Or I didn't have any side effects, but
some people do. But
yeah,
it's up to you whether or not you want to do it. Anything else you wanna add? Because I really wanted to talk about like the family part and the school, like anything that maybe you kind of spoke about, like what you learned from it. Not really learned.
I want to add something before I forget. So touching back on therapy, my first ever counseling session was actually when I was back home, a senior in high school, and I went sought out therapy myself when I was 18, and I waited. Really, I should have started therapy when I was 16, but I had to wait until I didn't need parental consent to go to therapy. And I had I would say the typical therapist, what you think of if you've never been a therapist, how does that make you feel?
I hate that.
Oh yeah. And I told her, I was
annoying.
This is not gonna work for me. This is fluff. And I told her that straight up, and she had to alter the way she interacted with me. So whereas the therapist I have now, he is no sugarcoating, no, when I first went to therapy, this is what I used to do freshman year. I used to write, bring a little notebook of every issue or thing that annoyed me that week that happened, and just go and vent.
And he's like your little friend.
One day he literally told me, you could come in here every day and I can be the person to listen to you if that's what you need, or we can start working on things to fix it. And he's like, it's kind of like if you have a car and you run out of gas, you can stand on the side of the road and just stare at the tank, or you can start walking and go get the gas that's gonna get the car moving.
Put in work. That's when
I was like,
you sure told
and
me?
I started bringing my notebook and we started working.
So with that being said, therapy, finding a therapist can be a trial and error type thing. So you could find, maybe the first session is not the best. So give it a second shot. If you don't feel comfortable, change your therapist. Find someone that you are comfortable speaking to, that you can relate to, that understands you, because you need to feel that connection with that person in order for you to be able to open up about your stuff. Anything else you want to share about your experience, or any advice you would give to anyone that may be going through something at the moment? Yeah.
Some advice. One thing that did help me, I do journal every night, and even though I had no energy for anything else, I always made it a priority to journal, because you will look back at that and you will notice a difference. Like, start journaling if you haven't. And I would say find safe spaces. I liked going to Barnes and Noble by myself. Like, I don't know why it was Barnes and Noble, but I just would go there and sit by myself and do homework or read. You know, so just find like those little places where you can just be in your thoughts alone, you know, and that don't make you feel anxious or super, super sad.
Also, not just find safe spaces, but safe people that you can confide in, because not everyone out there is real. Not everyone that claims that they're real are real. When your spirit is telling you like something is up with that person, believe it. Okay? So
there was only 3 people that I talked to for real, like last semester when I was going through that. And you're one of them. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And then 2 other people. So like that I would like go over their houses that I knew I could be around them and not be
forced. Like,
and they would like understand to some certain extent. Like for some of them, like you just met me, but for like the other 2, they've seen me. They know like the real one. So for me to bring them this and for them to like accept it meant like so much to me, because I couldn't be around a lot of people because they weren't gonna react the same. They would probably be like, "What's wrong with Christina?" Like, no, we don't like this version of her. Send her back.
Why don't you get better already? You know, you have these things. Like sometimes you don't even want to feel that way. Sometimes I know for me, I used to beat up myself like, Christine, like again, like not really get over it, but I don't want to be going through it again. But the people around you, they're happy and they're like the Debbie Downer in the group. You don't want to be that person. You don't do it deliberately, but you can't fight it. For those that may see like a change in your friends, you know, ask them what's up. Like what I do check up on people, but not with the intentions for them to tell me their life story. You know, just to let them know that I care or I'm thinking about you, because sometimes that's all you need to, you know, give you that boost, that encouragement. If you notice that something is up with your friend, reach out to them, not with the intention to be all up in their business, but that you genuinely care. Also, if you're that friend and you notice that it can be a little, because we can be draining. I don't know if I know I could be. It could drain you, but take time off from them if you need to, and then come back. Don't just leave them to themselves, because they're battling some stuff and they don't really have the strength to do it on their own. So they need your support. If you can't, and you know another friend that is really close, that is confidential, that can, you know, you tag team with them, then you tell them, I think that something is up with this person, check up on them. Not that you go and you tell every single person, Nancy, you know, this person, you know, you go and you tell them, because it's something sensitive, you know, and I feel like sometimes people, they forget to be human. You know, just be kind to people. Even if they may not be your friend or is an acquaintance, just be nice, you know, greet them, and it doesn't take much out of you to be nice. I think this concludes the message for today. Christina, can you please tell them where they can follow you? Instagram, your blog, and she also has a YouTube page.
On Instagram, I am Christina with a CH, another A, and then JP. She'll put this all in the link, hopefully. My blog is www.beingchristinajane.com, and my Twitter is Christina Jane and the letter P. My YouTube is Christina Jane. So follow me and subscribe.
You're going to enjoy all her content on her YouTube, on her blogs. That's what I've really been reading. Like, it's really interesting. And she's being vulnerable with you guys. Like, she talks about the real stuff.
Transparency.
Yes. So do check out her social medias, her website, and you know, if anything maybe touched you from what she said, you know, reach out and let her know, girl, I felt that. And guys go through stuff, and you guys don't talk about it. Y'all be going through stuff, but you guys don't talk about it, and like it hurts me because. I mean, we don't really create that space. I'm kind of going off target, but I'm going to keep this in. We don't really create that space for them to open up about their stuff. We women, we can talk about our feelings. I know I can. I've done it several times with, you know, just talk. But you guys just keep it bottled in, and it manifests in other ways. So please, men and women, take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health. And we love you. Take care.